I'm Adam Walker, a biometrics consultant, and this is the Pharma Prescribed podcast, where leaders, innovators, and hidden voices in healthcare open up. No sound bites, no spin, just raw insight, one prescription at a time. In an industry driven by data, protocols, and pressure, we rarely pause to ask the human questions. What drives us? What breaks us? And what truths live behind the titles we wear? Today, we're joined by Jan Krikava, co-founder and managing director of Docuply, a document automation platform purpose-built for the pharmaceutical and healthcare sectors. With a degree in software engineering and a background in enterprise, he spent over a decade optimizing digital workflows for regulated industries. Before launching Docuply, Jan led product and strategy teams across Europe, helping life science organizations modernize their compliance infrastructure without compromising security or speed. Designed for CROs, biotech startups, and pharma service providers, Docuply delivers a fully compliant, pre-validated electronic quality management system. Jan, welcome to Pharma Prescribed. How are you today?
Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for having me, Adam. Doing well. How about you?
Not too bad, thank you. So for those of our audience who aren't familiar with you, how did you come into this industry and what brings you here today?
Good question. I started my career at SAP here in Germany, 30 kilometers away from Mannheim, where I'm at right now in the office. I started working in quality management there. I've been working with SAP for 4 years and then turned self-employed. After I finished also my Bachelor of Science in software engineering / business informatics. And basically I've been also working for the life science industry in my self-employment. And everything worked out as fine as I didn't think before. And then this turned out to be a bigger success than even imagined. And in 2018, I've actually founded my first company, a consulting company called KLQC, which is focusing until today on developing MVPs for the life science industry, but also for the energy sector. Regulated industries are my hobby. This is how we got to Docuply, because in 2022, after validating our idea for almost 2 years, we had like plenty interviews. At the end, it was like 250 interviews and 220 interviews in depth. And we also wrote a white paper together. So this was the white paper where it all started. Based on the white paper, we did 250 quantitative interviews. This validated the idea to build a document management software for smaller companies in biotech and pharma. As it turned out, document management is not the only problem. What are you doing with the documents in your day-to-day job? It's actually quality management. So this is how we pivoted into quality management from document management. Docuply got bigger and better, and that's how I came here.
I'm delighted you are. For full transparency, we've been working together for just over a year now.
Yep.
Be on your scientific advisory board. I'm really delighted to support you with those activities. More importantly, I think our audience would love to know some of the interesting findings that you've had in working in and around the pharma industry, as opposed to more broadly general IT, because they're very different, aren't they? What are the things that, as an outsider coming in, you've identified as being specific to the pharma industry?
So that's a good question. When we validated our idea, I think it was late 2020 back then, we really asked ourselves, like, where do we want to start interviewing for potential challenges to be solved? And then we actually were like writing down on a big sheet which industries we actually got connections to, meaning like some kind of network, customers from the consulting company. Then we actually did evaluation on which industry to really pick for the interviews. And we ended up with the life science industry, because we had, and I can still remember, it was just across me here, we had basically the people within the life science industry as motivated, everyone very motivated. And then on the other side, people have a altruistic motivation. And this is why we actually went for the life science industry. We had some experience with medtech, we had some experience with pharma, And we went for pharma because we saw the lack of digital solutions within the pharma industry, what we could actually notice when looking into the medtech industry.
It's an interesting thing that you've identified. I would like to think that people do come into this industry for the right reasons. It was certainly what brought me into the industry, to try and improve the lives of patients and those people in and around my family that were directly impacted by medicine. You're right about that altruism for sure. It seems to run through most people that I come across. There is a consistency of behavior as well around the people that I'm sure you come into contact with, whether it's in conferences, on webinars. But there is that consistency of behavior that we find across the industry, isn't there?
Definitely. We are very happy that after the 250 interviews, we came across the same sort of people, motivated, very happy most often. And yeah, this actually makes it a lot easier starting a startup, founding a startup, and sticking with it, because this is like a roller coaster sometimes. You have to work through the bad times, and it makes it a lot easier if you have the right people.
Starting up a company in this industry cannot be easy. And you had experience previously of starting up your own businesses. And clearly you have that entrepreneurial drive. Perhaps you can elaborate a bit more about that, because having got to know you a little bit over the last year, I can see that. But I think it would be great if our audience could hear that directly from you as well.
How do I come to the decision to work as self-employed? Basically, after working at SAP, I saw that working within a big enterprise is not as momentous. Working for a big enterprise is sometimes not as self-driven as you would it like to be. How did I come to the decision to become self-employed? Working at big enterprise like SAP, I actually found out that sometimes certain decisions are not as fast as I would imagine them to be. And this is why I wanted to do it on my own. So I turned self-employed, and I also had some references. My father was self-employed like the first 10 years of his life. Also, my uncle was self-employed, working as a freelancer in the IT industry for plenty years. And this actually made the decision easy for myself, also knowing that it's really stressful sometimes. On the other side, you have to carry your own responsibility.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Clearly, having people around you that showed you it was possible drove you forward. And it's something that I often talk to my now adult kids about, that there is something that I often say, which is you can work for lots of big corporations, but ultimately the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning is putting food on the table and putting a roof over your head. And you certainly have that motivation, a lone entrepreneur in the beginning, don't you? And I know you're a recent parent as well, so that must also have fired your motivation a little bit more.
The motivation even gets higher when you turn a father. And I did so 2.5 years ago. This is definitely more motivating than even before, because on the responsibility side, it's ever growing. And yeah, I'm still sticking to the idea, so I don't have any problems taking on the responsibility. I totally love it, family life.
I'm delighted you do. And certainly, as I say, it drives you in a different way than you ever thought possible. So, circling back to Docuply, I'm curious to know how the name came about, because there isn't another company out there that even sounds like it. I reckon you must have done some real deep dive around that. Did you?
Another good question, Adam. It's funny, we first thought it would be a document management system back then for laboratory use. That's why we named it DocuLab first. You can still do some research at the European Patent Register and see that we tried to register DocuLab. Funny thing is, there was actually a company from Munich sounding a little too close, and they got 2 out of the 4 classes we've registered for. And if the European Trademark Register does some decisions, it's not done from today until tomorrow or next week. It takes up to 2 years. So we were like, do we wait for 2 years until the final decision? And we said, no, we wanted to keep pushing, and went with another name. So it was like an early morning here in the office. We sat like exactly in this room, and we thought for some new names. And basically we just tried to keep it like seven letters. And then if you just think about the suppliers, then if you think about also the word multiply, we had this idea to add up the ply at the end. Guess what? The domains were still unregistered, and we went for it. Yeah.
That's a cool story. I like that. And your branding behind you is also quite noticeable. It's on everything that you put out there. Is there a meaning behind that as well?
If you look at right here, it looks almost the share symbol you have on your smartphone or in different apps. This is exactly what we want to achieve in the bigger picture as a vision. We want to make documents, regulatory documents, quality management documents shareable across suppliers, consultants, etc. Because we don't want to be a data silo, and we want to make the data easily shareable with few third parties. And this is why we went for the logo. And then we had the good luck to have Felix, a close friend of ours, who said he would like to do the design for us. And I think it even didn't took him like a day or so. Like we had it instantly. Felix sent it over to us and we didn't have the second round. We straight up went with the logo.
That's good to know. And I think coming from an IT software background as you do, it's decisive decision making, isn't it? It's throwing out ideas quickly, failing fast, deciding, and then going with it.
Failing fast forward.
It's a very crowded market that you've decided to work around electronic trial master files. There are some big players out there. Everyone who listens to this, who's familiar with pharma and biotech, will be aware of them. I'd really like to know what your experience has been in going out to conferences and putting your capabilities out there in comparison to these enormous corporations that you're really up against. How has that been for you? And how do you focus your attention on clients that you're really interested in and possibly more likely to get hold of?
I think with the crowded market, if we look from far away, it looks like a crowded market. But if you zoom in, you can actually see what's really available and affordable for small and medium-sized companies, let's say up to 150 employees, 200 employees. And especially for biotech, biopharma startups, then you will notice like close to no solution is made, especially for the smaller part of the market. In the end, it's really difficult because those systems 20 years ago were only made for big enterprises. And this is also why they look like this today. So you have like plenty functions for big enterprises, but you, small company, you just need like few buttons instead of 100 buttons. And then on the other side, this will also keep your organization away from actually adopting the whole solution. Because at the end, you don't want to buy the solution, you want to create a quality culture. If you have a solution which works against this bigger goal, then it's simply not achievable. On the other side, you also have the pricing. Yeah? If you ever went for RFP, for electronic quality management system, you will have noticed that most often there's like a setup fee in place. If it's not called setup fee, then it's like an onboarding fee and maybe some additional consultants and a few trainer days. This all adds up to a big block of initial costs, which a small startup of 10, 15 employees simply can't afford. Yeah, we've been looking around for quite a while. We've been validating the idea for 2 years and we couldn't find a solution matching up the momentum on one side, the usability on the other side, and additionally also has an affordable price point. And that's why we went for Docuply.
Affordability is clearly important. Companies under 150 employees, as you mentioned. You also touched on quality. It's something that, as having worked in this industry for as long as I have to reinforce it's in our blood. If you've been in this industry for any length of time, we have the highest level of regulations, higher than banking, because patients' lives matter and patient safety matters. I'd love to know a little bit more around that quality piece and how your system ensures quality, but also you manage to do it at an affordable level, because you talked about cost and how that plays out in smaller organizations around licensing and those types of things. But I'd just like to know how you've managed to find that sweet spot between quality, cost, and affordability.
Yeah, at the end, I don't think quality has to cost a lot. For sure, it's like taking up a lot of resources, especially in terms of efforts, but that's only because it's so many repetitive tasks. If you just think about the pharma industry, like how many studied academics sometimes work for quality management, doing repetitive work like gathering 30 signatures for training. It shows you how silly some of the processes are, which are accepted close to everywhere if they don't work already digitally. This actually turned into our motivation that there should be like some electronics solution out there, but really helping with the repetitive tasks. We were talking about SOP trainings, writing change version descriptions, coming up with CAPA suggestions. Those are all like things where you have to have some sort of experience. And then on the other side, you have to do it often, too fast. It actually keeps a lot of people away doing it the right way. Who's motivated doing repetitive tasks at the end, especially if you have an academic background. I just wanted to free up those times from repetitive tasks. And I think in 2025 with large language models and other technologies like the web technologies we are using, this should be easier than handled beforehand. Docuply has all those features inbuilt, baked in, and makes the life of quality managers and also QA managers a lot easier.
It sounds reassuring, and the critical audit and preventative actions that we identify in those quality management systems are obviously critical to quality. You touched on those more menial tasks that people don't now want to do so much. Are you gauging from some of the people that you're talking to in the marketplace that is becoming less and less a requirement of junior level people and more an expectation that there are systems and processes that will do that as a first pass?
On one hand, there's a high demand for new quality managers, especially with the ever-rising regulation demands. And on the other side, you only get experience in the senior if you've been a junior before. So the demand for the juniors also raises. I think it should be way easier as an entry as a quality manager. In the beginning, like you have to read through the regulations, all the requirements. And then on the other side, if you don't have like a senior who actually teaches you, it's like pretty hard. I think if you have a system, it really makes things way easier because our system works as rails for quality management system, because you can't go too much left and too much right, because our system enforces certain things which are essential for quality management. And as I said, also helping with the repetitive task. And this really makes it easier, especially for younger quality managers who are also digital natives and used to work with applications just like ours.
The next generation, as you say, coming into this industry are digital natives, born with phones in their hand. There is a level of expectation in that generation that they do not want to be doing what we used to do. I'm talking about pen and paper and scanning technology and various other things that now we just take for granted. But it hasn't always been that way, has it? Clearly, in your experiences from other areas, you're adapting an approach that is working for you and the industry through what you've seen and learned around the people you're working with.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the generational change. Younger people do come into the industry, have certain expectations, and then on the other side, you have the seniors leaving after 30, 40 years of work. This is where you have to adapt as an organization to digital workflows, because otherwise it won't scale and you will be starting again point blank.
You're absolutely right. So with regards to where the business is heading, what do you see for the future of Docuply with regards to the technologies that are out there, things that will streamline the activities that you're already improving upon all the time? Are you using many of those new technologies that we talked about, large language models, GPT systems? I've seen some demos, but I think our audience would love to know more about that particular aspect.
It's a lot of text-based content if you think about quality management documents. Close to all documents are text-based with not as many pictures. In times like this, with large language models, also understanding pictures is becoming easier for large language models. We are happy to have Mistral, the challenger from France, with us to make our features AI native, actually accelerating day-to-day work. Talking about the repetitive tasks mentioned before, the SOP training, and also CAPA ideas.
So you talked about AI native. What does that mean in real terms, what does that actually mean for a lay person like myself?
AI native means that we actually build everything for adapting AI features. If you look back at old on-premise systems, it's very difficult to integrate and implement AI features. We, as a cloud solution with the European hosting, have everything already there to enable AI features. For us, it's 10 times easier to roll out AI features for other service vendors, which helps us to adapt fast to customer needs.
That's good to know. With regards to the funding of the company, of course, we talked at the beginning around your being the entrepreneur that set this company up on the back of your other experiences. Are you bootstrapping it yourself? Do you get external funding? How does that work? Because I gather in Germany, it's very different to certainly in the UK and the US with respect to funding new startups and new companies like your own.
We've actually bootstrapped the company from the beginning on until mid of this year, where we got some business angel funding and are now raising again. I can't disclose too much, but I'm happy with all business angels around us, like Stefan Brüning, Florian Barth, and Daniel. And yeah, it's you basically have to think about like how do you want to build your team, because those are sticking with you for a long time. I think we made the right decisions right there. After 6 months, 5 months, I can already say so. I'm just happy to have a great team around me.
It's certainly very evident in the contact that I've had with you and various members of your team. But also, I think there is a cultural alignment, Germany specific, that I wanted to talk about, which is having recently been in Frankfurt where we met in person. My sense is certainly historically that there has been a lot of investment in life sciences in Germany, and it seems to be a place where innovators can successfully build. There are other people I've interviewed on the podcast, again, who are located in Germany who speak to those points. And I'd just love to hear a little bit more about that from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. There are plenty of options on how to fund your startup. Bootstrapping is only one of them. Business angel funding is another. You also got a VC investment, but you can also leverage it with debt, with venture debt. You have to find the best possible solution on your own. We went for bootstrapping first because we want to have all decisions in our hands. So this was the right route at the right time. Then building up our advisory board, which you are part of, Adam. Also doing the funding, we try to gather as many experienced veterans from the pharmaceutical industry who can provide insight and help us out with special questions based on their experience and knowledge. And yeah, this is why the business angel funding was also the right decision at the right time. Right now, we are thinking on how to actually build the next funding round, and I will let you know once we've finished.
That sounds very positive. So there are future plans to expand. And are you thinking the boundaries of Germany? Are you thinking across Europe? Have you thought about considering expanding to a US option? Is that something that's been on the table?
I think there's a saying, software never travels west. We have a customer in the US, a biotech from the West Coast, but we are focusing on the DACH countries, on Germany, Austria, and Switzerland at the moment.
Good to know. I hope you didn't mind me asking that question, because it's something that comes to mind, particularly in that growth phase, because some companies can be very focused on one particular region. It sounds like you've got your goals and objectives set and you're very clear on those. And I think that's quite reassuring, to be quite frank. The company is building, it's going in the right path. What do you see the next big thing? Is there a big thing for Docuply as far as adapting some of the technologies that are easily and more cost effectively available now for you in the company?
Talking about the next big steps, I would like to touch back on your last question. We are thinking about expanding in Europe, so that's a big step for next year. On the solution side, we want to focus on our current features and also add enough features to have like a full electronic quality management system, including the supplier management solution, because that's another big challenge if you're a small or medium-sized company. Doing professional piece and good supplier management, including audit management, is very time consuming. And we think there are like plenty shortcuts especially with AI technology and our technology partner.
I would agree with that. One other feature worth mentioning that I've seen that I think might be interesting also to our audience is that really great piece around the training records and the multiple choice generating AI questions. You upload a document, let's say it's an SOP, and you run it through the AI tool. It comes up with a host of randomly generated questions that have to be answered correctly to push you through to the training acceptability. I think I've remembered that correctly, haven't I?
You have a common problem, especially across the auditors. We've talked to many companies here in Europe, which are still working paper-based. They have training records where you simply state as an employee that you have read and understood the SOP as an example. This leaves a big gap for your next audit. We thought, how about making it easier to come up with a questionnaire proving or delivering the evidence really to have an understanding of the document. And then in 2024, we've built the proof of concept with a little bit of data we've collected. And we are now able to generate the questionnaires within seconds. You as a professional add in how long it takes to write a questionnaire and really fine-tune the questions and make them as exact as possible. Now our solution does this within seconds. And as I said beforehand, makes the life of quality managers easier.
It's one of my favorite features. It was a pain point for me over many years when I headed up functions. I had to write those questions, prepare them, and judge people on the outcomes. There's a fraction of time required in doing that now. And I think there's an enormous time saving. It's an enormous improvement in quality, visibility, and tracking. All the audit trails around that are really extremely important and just fulfilled all of the things that I wasn't able to do with one pair of hands myself and one head. The capability that has engendered for others will be an enormous time saving. So I just wanted to give you plenty of plaudits for that, because I think it's one of the best things I've seen for a long time. So at this point in the conversation, I always like to finish with a quick fire round, Jan. So if you'll be so kind, what is the one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Just to simply answer that, I think doing things is the most important thing. I would also advise my younger self to do more things, because trying things is very cool. New experiences make us the people we are, and therefore collecting those experiences, you shouldn't hold yourself away from that. Yeah.
What are the 3 top qualities you value most when building a team?
The qualities when building a team. On one hand, you have to have a social cultural fit. If it's not clicking on a social level, you won't be able to work together. On the other side, I really like people who can think second and third order and see through dependencies, especially building a big digital platform. You have to foresee things which others don't. And I would say pretty good at that. This is definitely what I value, especially thinking about my co-founder, Daniel. The third thing is, especially here around the office, I don't know if I told you before, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is a big thing here. Yeah. I think third of the team is already doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and half of the team at least has tried it, but that's not made for everyone. This is a lot of fun, and definitely also something which we are looking for when hiring and working with people.
I don't remember that being mentioned, but wow, that's quite impressive. What is your favorite thing outside of work, Jan?
As already mentioned before, I've turned a father 2.5 years ago. Family is definitely my answer without even thinking about it.
And shout out to your young son. What's his name?
Jonathan.
And finally, what is your number 1 golden rule for life and business?
Stay honest to yourself and to your partners.
That's a lovely way to bring the conversation to a close. I want to thank you for giving us a little bit of an understanding to our audience of Docuply, of you, Jan, the man, and the challenges you have as a startup in getting from start to profitability and future facing. You've given us a great perspective on the business, future plans, and where that sweet spot is in the industry for Docuply. I really appreciate you coming on to Pharma Prescribed today. For any of our audience that want to reach out and make contact with you, and what's the best way to get hold of you?
Simply send us an email on our website, docuply.io, or contact me on LinkedIn.
Once again, I'd like to sincerely thank you for being on Pharma Prescribed today. It's been an absolute delight to talk to you, and I hope to continue the conversation further.
Thanks, Adam, for your time, and hopefully talk to you soon and see you soon.